Hey everyone, welcome back. Let's get right into it. Today's explainer is all about finally demystifying belly fat loss. Look, if you've ever tried a ketogenic plan and just found yourself completely overwhelmed by all that complicated macro math, constantly weighing your food, staring at tracking apps until your eyes literally cross, trust me, you are not alone. So today, we are tossing those complicated calculators right out the window. We're going to replace all of that overwhelming detail with simple, actionable lifestyle habits drawn directly from years of clinical experience.
It's kind of the million-dollar question, isn't it? What's the absolute fastest way to burn belly fat without obsessing over every single macro? Honestly, the frustration with overcomplicated diets is exactly why so many of us hit a plateau and just throw in the towel. But what if fat loss wasn't about complex math at all? What if it was actually just a simple domino effect of 5 specific practical steps? If we set up these 5 dominoes in the exact right order, your body naturally shifts into high-gear fat burning, and we can completely bypass the need to obsessively count every gram of food on your plate.
All right, let's dive right into step 1, lowering insulin, which is your true fat-burning goal. We really have to understand that keeping your insulin levels as low as biologically possible is the ultimate key that unlocks your body's ability to burn fat.
And that brings us to a super critical definition, ketosis. Now, ketosis is simply a state of producing ketones, and ketones are just the natural byproduct of fat burning. Basically, think of ketones like the exhaust that comes out of an engine when your body is burning up that stubborn midsection. So, it stands to reason that the more ketones your body generates, the more fat you're actively burning, and the faster you're going to see your belly shrink. It is a direct cause and effect.
Now let's talk about the number 20. While standard advice often tells you to keep carbohydrates somewhere between 30 and 50 grams a day, if you want to burn belly fat fast, you really need to push that daily intake down to 20 grams or less. Pushing those carbs down to 20 ensures your insulin stays incredibly low, which drives you way deeper into that ketone-producing fat-burning state we just talked about.
Okay, so moving on to step 2. How do we actually hit that target? We simplify our food with salads and protein, because honestly, you shouldn't need a spreadsheet just to eat lunch.
So, here is our very first tip, and it's a big one. Consume at least 7 cups of salad a day. Now, I know, that might sound like a massive amount of food, but here's the absolute magic of leafy green vegetables. They are almost entirely fiber, and fiber is the only carbohydrate that has basically a zero insulin response. Because of this little loophole, you don't even need to count these carbs. You can eat huge amounts of salad without stressing over your macro limits. A great trick to make this a whole lot easier is just using a salad cutter to chop everything down into a smaller, much more manageable bowl. And here is a really vital pro tip for your daily routine. Always eat your salad at the beginning of your meal. Why? Well, first off, it physically prevents you from overeating your protein later on. Secondly, a healthy keto plan isn't just about cutting carbs, it's about packing in dense nutrients. These massive salads load your system up with potassium, magnesium, vitamin C, and phytonutrients. These are the specific nutrients that prevent those awful muscle cramps in your calves, fight off keto fatigue or the keto flu, and actually help improve your insulin resistance to push your insulin even lower. Now let's look at the other side of your plate, protein. For portion size, keep it super simple. Just use a visual cue. About the size of the palm of your hand per meal is perfect. But there is a massive difference in the type of protein you should be choosing. Let's compare lean protein directly with fattier protein.
Okay, this might sound entirely counterintuitive to literally everything you've ever been taught about dieting. Lean proteins, like whey protein powders or skinless chicken breasts, actually stimulate insulin way more than fattier proteins do. Whey protein, because it has almost no fat to buffer it, triggers a really high insulin spike. Instead, you actually want the fat that naturally comes with the protein. Fatty hamburgers, salmon, chicken with the skin still on, sardines, pork, these are far superior choices. That added fat buffers the insulin response, keeping you safely locked in ketosis.
All right, now we reach tip number 3, and this is where the real magic happens, the fasting and fat pivot. To make this pivot work, initially about 75% of your calories need to come from fat. We're talking pecans, avocados, MCT oil, but I know exactly what you're thinking. Wait, if I eat all this extra fat, won't that slow down my weight loss? And the honest answer is, well, yes. Initially it will, because your body burns dietary fat before it burns body fat. But listen, this is a deliberate, strategic move. It is absolutely necessary to initiate the next, most crucial phase of the plan.
You see, all that extra fat keeps you incredibly full, which is what allows you to start intermittent fasting without constantly fighting hunger and those awful cravings. Just doing keto alone might get your ketone levels to a 2 or a 3, but if you want the fast results, if you want to push those ketones all the way up to a 5 or a 6, intermittent fasting is required. By eating more fat, you can comfortably skip breakfast, push your first meal to noon, and have your second meal at 6 p.m.
And as your body adapts to this schedule and starts tapping into its own fat stores, you are going to experience a dramatic drop in your appetite. Which brings us to the ultimate golden rule. If you are not hungry, do not eat. Seriously, so many people mess up their progress because they eat robotically, out of pure habit, or just because the clock told them it's mealtime. Listen carefully to this. Every single time you eat, regardless of what the food actually is, the mere act of eating triggers insulin, and that pops you right out of your fat-burning state.
And this brilliantly illustrates the fat pivot. Let's walk through it step by step. You start by increasing your dietary fat to stay full. That fullness allows you to easily start intermittent fasting. The fasting adapts your body, and boom, you lose your appetite. Now here's the pivot. Once that appetite is gone and you are fasting effortlessly, you must decrease your dietary fat. Drop the extra nuts, drop the MCT oil. Now, because your body still needs fuel, but you aren't feeding it loads of dietary fat, it literally has no choice but to eat its own belly fat. It's an absolute masterclass in biological hacking.
Of course, burning fat rapidly is only great if you actually feel good while you're doing it, right? So let's quickly shift to tips 4 and 5, nutrients and lifestyle, where we make every single calorie count.
When you transition to just 1 or 2 meals a day and your body enters deep ketosis, its requirement for certain nutrients actually goes up. You have to actively replace them. For your B vitamins, unfortified nutritional yeast is an excellent source. For electrolytes, those massive salads we talked about earlier are your first line of defense, or you can use a high-quality powder. And crucially, minerals. Do not skip the sea salt. Seriously, if you aren't consuming extra sea salt on this plan, you will literally feel weak and fatigued. Make a mental note of that right now.
And finally, tip 5. This has to be a sustainable lifestyle change, which means it needs to actually be enjoyable. You do not have to live like a monk. Having half a bar of low-carb chocolate after your first meal or incorporating some keto-friendly desserts a few times a week makes the whole process pleasurable. And remember this golden rule of troubleshooting. If it's working, don't change anything. People so often get great results and then needlessly tweak their diet, ruining all their momentum. Keep it simple.
We'll leave you today with this ultimate paradigm shift. You don't lose weight to get healthy, you have to get healthy to lose weight. Reaching a nutrient-dense, properly fueled state of healthy ketosis is the actual foundation that makes fast, lasting belly fat loss possible. It is not a punishment, it's a healing process. So ask yourself, are you punishing your body to drop pounds, or are you ready to finally heal your body so the weight effortlessly